Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Green Lights Ahead, a Choose How You Move procurement preview. We're so excited to be here with you today. My name's Sabrina Sussman. I'm the Chief Program Officer for Choose How You Move. And unfortunately, I'm not on camera because due to an unexpected change of events, I'm accompanying the mayor at an event at the moment and have to be in transit, which is our favorite way to move in Choose How You Move. I'd like to go ahead and kick us off. Today we have a packed agenda. You're going to hear from many of my colleagues across Metro and WeGo, and we'll dig right in. On the next slide, you'll see a bit of an overview of where we've been the last year in Choose How You Move. To start, everyone here knows Choose How You Move was approved by 2/3 of Nashville voters in November of 2024. It unlocked a $3.1 billion transportation improvement program over 15 years that completes a priority sidewalk network with 86 miles, upgrades nearly 600 traffic intersections, expands transit service to 24/7, 365, and of course, improves safety for all users. It also helps to make investments in 54 miles of all access corridors, which I know many of you are excited to talk about today. On the next slide, you'll see a little bit of highlights from our last year. Sunday was the 1-year anniversary of the establishment of the surcharge, and we started collections. So we're only a year into collections and have already accomplished so many things before us, including doing 2 rounds of service expansion for WeGo, and launching a Journey Pass program, starting advisory committees, and starting capital work. On the next slide, you'll see our big fall announcement of $104 million of capital projects launched. We cut our first ribbon in November at the Edgeoe Lake Q Jump, showed off what new signals can do for the community in December, and started the year strong with brand new WeGo buses paid for by CHYM funding that you'll see in the photo. Looking ahead, we're going to keep on focusing on our projects, more signals, more sidewalks, more safety coming to a community near you, and we're going to kick off our all access corridor process. So folks have been asking, how does all this work? How do all of the Metro entities work together? It's a big program and it's a little complicated. So while we've put the full framework before you today, and we'll make this available after, we actually really want you to focus on the next slide, which is a bit of a simplified framework that talks about how we are going to manage all access corridors, like the Nolensville corridor, our first corridor that we'll be talking about later today. You'll see the Chief Program Office, based in the Mayor's office here at Metro Nashville, will lead the multi-agency delivery partnership network that includes NDOT, WeGo, the Planning Department, ITS, many of our other partners, as we look to embark on really starting to dig into what changes and what investments we can make across our all access corridors. We'll partner, of course, with other state and federal entities as appropriate, but wanted to give you a sense that this project really crosses across all of the entities. On the next slide, you'll see we're going to put aside some time at the end to take some questions. We really want to be able to address as many as we can, but we may not get to every question. I will note, there's a little note there in the corner, we're not going to actually be able to answer any questions related to the NDOT-led IDIQ. That is pending legislative approval. You'll hear more about the IDIQ from Christy in a couple of slides, but know that if you submit questions on that, we won't be able to address them today. We also will not be able to address any questions you may have about a conflict of interest policy related to the Nolensville RFP. The organizational conflict of interest process will be addressed in the RFP that will be coming out in the coming weeks. And once that's out, you'll be able to ask questions about conflicts of interest during that process. We will, of course, take questions and answer them in addendum following the publishment of the RFP. So we won't take those questions today. And with that, I'm happy to hand it over to our next speaker.
Thank you, Sabrina. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Choose How You Move procurement preview. My name is Dennis Rowland, and I'm the Chief Procurement Officer and Purchasing Agent for Metro Nashville, Davidson County. Next slide, please. As we begin this part of the presentation, I would like to make an important point. Regarding Choose How You Move sourcing, both Metro Procurement and WeGo Procurement will be supporting the project's successful implementation. So this means that you need to be registered in both of our procurement systems. Once again, two different procurement organizations will be supporting that, and it's important that we get you all registered in both systems. For the strong outreach activity, we have developed a one city approach, which includes Metro Procurement, WeGo, NDOT, and the Mayor's Office. This collaborative approach has worked extremely well up to this point. Next slide, please. I would like to introduce our one city approach speakers. You've met me already, but once again, my name is Dennis Rowland, Chief Procurement Officer and Purchasing Agent. Jerval Watson is the Metro Nashville Business Development Officer. Unfortunately, she could not be with us today, so I will be covering her part of the presentation. Christy Snell is from NDOT Engineering. Derek Gray is also from NDOT Engineering, and Kim Herford is a procurement manager with WeGo. Next slide, please. Speaking on behalf of Metro Procurement, there are three important points to cover. You need to register in our procurement system. You need to watch for opportunities, and you need to network to stay connected to Choose How You Move and all other Metro sourcing activities. Next slide. So to register, you need to go to purchasing.nashville.gov to actually register your company in our site if you're not in there. If you are registered, it's important that you keep updated contact information. This is actually one of the biggest problem areas that we have. Usually whenever somebody leaves a company and they don't update their information, unfortunately, the solicitations will be going to that particular email that's set up. So it's up to the supply base to actually keep your registration updated. Also updating and adding any commodity codes related to services and goods that you can support us with. We actually use the Universal Commodity Code of UNSPCS.org. So if you want to go and cross-reference whatever the commodities are you support with those codes, we would like you to do that. And then also don't miss attending supplier information sessions similar to this, and then also pre-offer meetings on the solicitations that we're having. We also offer training opportunities related to responding to solicitations and navigating in our iSupplier training system. Next slide. Our one city approach wants to connect not only with our broad supply base, but also with the citizens of Metro Nashville and Davidson County. We've already held several outreach events around our Nashville communities that were very successful. Part of staying connected is by having a very broad and robust methods of communication. These communication methods include, as listed, social media, Metro, WeGo, and Mayor communications, emails, resource partners, and vendor databases. Next slide, please. And lastly, we request you to continue networking. Network with Metro. We have several people here on the call. You've already met several people in some of the other events, but stay connected with Metro. Also, our network with our WeGo friends. In all of our events, we've had very collaborative meetings together, and we are working collaboratively as one team, as the one city approach mentions. And then also network with your peers. It always pays to win friends and influence people in any case that you have. And so we want to encourage the networking to continue. Actually, our procurement website is very robust. If you need names and titles of people to network with, I please encourage you to go use that as a reference. Thank you, and I will now turn it over to Christy Snell with NDOT.
Thanks, Dennis. So again, I'm Christy Schnell with the Nashville Department of Transportation and Multimodal Infrastructure. And so Metro Procurement competitively solicited for architectural and engineering, or A&E, services for a multi-award indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity, or IDIQ contract using a request for qualifications, or an RFQ, solicitation method. This contract type is very standard within Metro and other organizations and provides a quick and efficient way to get a purchase order faster. Some call IDIQ contracts on-call type of contracts. These are contracts where the project manager can issue multiple task orders or project assignments at any time within the contract term, and then those are subtracted from the contract ceiling. So as I'll detail in the following slides, these contracts were solicited primarily for NDOT and for CHYM, and however, they are Metro-wide contracts for any department to utilize. So I'd also like to start with a disclaimer note that all the information presented here today assumes a favorable outcome with council. Due to the extended contract term, these contracts require 3 council readings for approval. The first reading was on January 20th. The second reading was deferred yesterday to the February 17th meeting, which would put the third reading on March 3rd. Again, all of this may change based on council determination. Next slide. So the RFQ solicitation opened last May and the notice of intent of award went out in October. These contracts contain over 50 services with compliance to over 19 agencies. And these contracts are primarily for NDOT and CHYM, but all of Metro can use them. There are 2 ways to award work that were detailed in the solicitation: the round robin and the mini proposal approach. The round robin rotates between the vendors sequentially. The mini proposal method contacts vendors who are qualified for that service and has them submit a mini proposal of qualifications for review by subject matter experts who then review and score those mini proposals. Next slide. So what are the services that these contracts were applicable for? There were over 50 listed in the solicitation, and they encompass these main areas shown on the screen: planning services, construction engineering inspection services, traffic signal and electrical services, design services, operation and maintenance services, community engagement, branding and design, marketing and public relations, development site plan review, grant and loan services, research and development, policy coordination, survey CAD, GIS, and LiDAR, as well as program management. We wanted to be able to encompass anything and everything that we would need architectural and engineering services for. Next slide. So as I mentioned at the beginning, these contracts have an extended contract term. Metro's standard contract term is 60 months. However, leadership determined that an extended contract term would be required as some projects may take longer duration. So these contracts have an initial 3-year contract term with 5 one-year renewals for a total potential contract life of 8 years. Next slide. So for NDOT funded projects, we intend to utilize the round robin method primarily, as this provides the best equitable distribution of work, but we may also utilize the mini proposal method with the discretion of our director. For CHYM funded projects, the CHYM Chief Program Officer has to sign off on the scope regardless of the soliciting department, and then CHYM plans to utilize both methods for awarding work. For TDOT local program projects, TDOT has approved the mini proposal method of award for using our IDIQ contracts. And lastly, other Metro departments may or may not utilize NDOT standard operating procedures for awarding work, but ultimately we will keep a record of all the purchase orders issued and report that equitable distribution between the contracts to Metro Procurement. Next slide. So obviously performance is very important. And so we plan to track performance both throughout the life of the project as well as project completion. And these are we plan to use these standard Metro Procurement performance tracking forms throughout all departments for tracking the performance of the services that the vendors are providing. And so that was a very brief summary of these architectural and engineering services indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contracts. And with that, I will now turn it over to Derek Gray to discuss the project delivery summary. Thank you.
Thank you, Chrissy, and great information for everyone. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Derek Gray, and I serve as the NDOT Project Management Team Lead for CHYM Projects. Today, I'll briefly highlight planned work that's ahead under Nashville's Choose How You Move program, sort of giving you a quick peek of what's to come. And we'll be focusing on 3 key infrastructure improvement segments: signals, sidewalks, and complete streets. Next slide, please. So while each of these programs have distinct scopes and delivery approaches, as to say, delivery program management, AE design, CEI, from design build or design bid build, and in prime and sub consultant partnerships, etc. Lots of opportunities ahead. They are intentionally coordinated and collectively intended to improve the multimodal connectivity and enhance safety for all users, and to modernize Nashville's multimodal transportation system in ways that are equitable, data-informed, and responsive to the future growth of the community. But what are these programs from a high level? So CHYM signals, as you can see here on the map presented in the pink dots. This program is modernizing Nashville's traffic signal network by implementing signal technology and infrastructure upgrades over the coming years at hundreds of intersections across the county. These new systems will use real-time data and adaptive timing to improve traffic flow by better synchronization between buses and other vehicles to keep traffic moving and transit on schedule. This technology also enhances safety for all road users by integrating crosswalk timing and signal responsiveness during peak travel and special events, reducing delays and supporting a more reliable travel experience for drivers, pedestrians, cyclists, and transit riders alike. The CHYM sidewalks. One major goal of CHYM is to expand and complete Nashville's sidewalk network by constructing nearly 80 new sidewalk segments represented on the map here in amber as amber lines, filling in critical gaps in the existing sidewalk infrastructure network and connecting more residents to transit stops, schools, jobs, and community destinations. Moreover, this program enhances walkability across and between neighborhoods and supports safer, more accessible pedestrian routes, laying the groundwork for a truly multimodal transportation system that encourages people to walk safely throughout the city. And our complete streets, as represented as dark green lines on the map, this component reflects a commitment to design 18 separate roadway corridors that safely accommodates all modes of travel, which includes pedestrians, cyclists, transit vehicles, and other passenger and commercial drivers, rather than prioritizing only motor vehicles. Through integrated design strategies on high injury corridors, complete street projects may incorporate features such as buffered bikeways, bike lanes, enhanced street crossings, additional sidewalks, dedicated bus lanes, reversible traffic patterns, stormwater improvements, and street beautification features, with the intent to reduce crashes, slow travel speeds where appropriate, and create more equitable access between neighborhoods, businesses, and other venues by rethinking major roadways with that multimodal need in mind. Nashville is working towards safer, more efficient, and more reliable streets for everyone. So I recognize that the imagery on the map is difficult to see. It's provided here only as sort of an order of magnitude across the entire county borders for what's to come. And this presentation has only been really a cursory overview of the projects with information provided for our year one active projects between the three programs. But specific program details or interactive maps are available on the CHYM website at https://transit.nashville.gov, and that link will be included in the follow-up information emails that'll be sent to you. We thank you, and we're really looking forward to the partnership to make greater Nashville-Davidson County a safer place to travel. Next slide, please. And with that, I'll hand it over to our WeGo partner, Ms. Kim Herford.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you again for joining us today. I'm Kim Herford, Procurement Manager with WeGo Public Transit. We appreciate your interest in working with us and taking the time to learn more about how we do business. You can start with my first slide. Today's update is focused on our supplier network registration process, the procurement life cycle, and how you can identify upcoming opportunities with WeGo. Our goal is to provide clarity, transparency, and practical guidance on engaging with our procurement process, whether you're a current provider or considering working with us in the future. Next slide, please. WeGo works with a broad supplier community. Our vendors and contractors play a key role in supporting transit operations and services. Our goal is to create strong partnerships with suppliers that help connect people to their community. We are looking to do business with organizations and subs that have a high standard of integrity, comply with all federal, state, and local laws, and companies that meet WeGo's standard of excellence. Next slide, please. Although pre-registration is not required to do business with WeGo, being registered ensures receipt of solicitations, updates, and outreach event notifications. You can register by visiting our website, www.wegotransit.com. And if you click on the tab that says Doing Business, and register your company, you'll be able to register to receive campaign notifications. And then when you select current opportunities and select the green subscribe button, you will then register your company with OpenGov. OpenGov is the procurement software we use to publish our solicitations and for bidders to submit their response to the solicitation. Next slide. WeGo follows a structured and transparent procurement policy. The process begins with planning and solicitation release. Within a solicitation, you can expect the following: the procurement point of contact, the procurement schedule, time, date, and location of the pre-bid meeting, site visits, deadline for questions, scope of work, the evaluation criteria, instructions on how to submit your proposal or bid, required certifications, and the proposed contract. Modifications to the solicitations will be communicated via addenda or amendments. After receipt of submittals, we enter into the evaluation phase where the proposals are evaluated for responsiveness and compliance. Depending on the complexity of the procurement, the agency may elect to conduct interviews with all responsive participants or create a short list according to the evaluation criteria and enter interviews with the top ranked firms. If the project is straightforward, the agency can simply score all responsive proposals and move to award. On an invitation to bid, ITB, the award is given to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. Once we have issued an intent to award, then we move into the negotiation phase of the project. Please note that WeGo requires any and all proposed contract exceptions to be submitted with your proposal. Any extra exceptions will not be considered after the notice of intent to award has been issued. You must submit all of your exceptions to the contract with your proposal to be considered. Okay, and then after that, it goes through legal for review. And then we also go through the contract approval. If the funding or if the project is over $300,000, then WeGo would have to then seek board approval for those procurements. Next slide, please. Vendors should be proactive in monitoring opportunities. Staying registered ensures you do not miss active solicitations. It will be beneficial for your company to attend all pre-bid meetings to see where you can fit in. And please follow WeGo's social media outlets. Next slide. And thank you. My name is Kim Herford. If you would like to contact me, you can email me at kim.herford, which is HEREFORD @nashville.gov. We look forward to doing business with you. Next slide. And at this time, we will have someone to talk about the Nolensville solicitation.
Perfect. Thank you, Kim. Hi, everyone. This is Kara Kump, Deputy Program Director with the Choose How You Move Program Management Team. I'll be joined with Michael Briggs. He's our Deputy Chief Program Officer with the Mayor's Office. We're going to be taking the next few minutes to talk about the Nolensville opportunity. So this would be a request for proposal. And next slide, please. One housekeeping item. If anyone has questions, please enter them in the chat. So all access corridors, you heard Sabrina at the top of the presentation describe all access corridors. We call them AACs. And I'm excited to share that the first of which would be Nolensville Pike. So overall, the Choose How You Move or CHYM program anticipates up to 54 miles of all access corridors throughout the program. These are defined as high capacity transit corridors, and they may include BRT or bus rapid transit. What you can see here is the conceptual map of the all access corridor for Nolensville Pike. This largely follows WeGo's existing Route 52. This is one of Nashville's most popular frequent transit service corridors. As you can see, it spans from downtown and heads southbound, spanning neighborhoods such as Pytown, Wedgwood, Houston, Chestnut Hill, Woodbine, and Glencliff along the Pike. Next slide. We're also excited to be at the point in the program where we are positioning the program and the corridor for federal investment. And Sabrina also mentioned the passage of Choose How You Move's dedicated half-cent sales surtax. This has established the local match that is necessary for these discretionary federal programs, notably FTA or Federal Transit Administration's Capital Investment Grant Program. We're looking to position the Nolensville Pike corridor for CIG funding. And how are we getting there? This RFP opportunity, which we're calling a planning and project development RFP, initiates the technical corridor work to be aligned with that federal funding pathway. And this is just a small illustration for anyone who is familiar with that federal funding process. We will have to demonstrate to FTA all the ways that the project is worthy of this federal investment from a project justification standpoint, from a local financial commitment standpoint. So these are topics we will be exploring in the years to come. And with the scope of work, I'll describe on the next slide. So we're announcing the release of an upcoming RFP for corridor planning and project development services. As Kim mentioned, this procurement is coming from WeGo. So this particular procurement, check out WeGo's website for this RFP. The selected consultant will support the project from early definition through environmental review with a comprehensive scope that includes things like purpose and need development, communications and engagement, alternatives analysis, and NEPA documentation. The work also covers conceptual engineering and preliminary engineering, which is defined as a 30% design level. This will include things like capital and operating cost estimation, service planning support, traffic analysis and modeling, and overall project management and coordination to advance the corridor. The RFP is intended to position the project for informed decision-making and our path to federal funding in the years ahead. And I will hand it off to Michael to talk about key factors in coordination for Nolensville Pike.
Thank you, Kara. So this is a complex project, both for Nashville and Tennessee, because we've not taken a full corridor into the CIG pipeline. So project teams that have a blend of national and peer city experiences and a local presence and context will be most successful. Our Nolensville Pike planning and project development work should reflect the nearly dozen plans related to visions and concepts for land use and transportation investments that have been done in the area over the last decade. And Choose How You Move funds should consider those ideas and put many of those strategies and ideas into action through this planning and project development work. I'll walk through some maps a little bit later to give you an idea of the corridor context. And as you see the corridor conditions, we have some key factors for you to consider. Tennessee has a unique requirement. We think it may be the only one in the nation where dedicated transit lanes within state right-of-way must be approved by TDOT and the General Assembly. We've fostered a really strong working partnership with our TDOT partners, both at headquarters and within Region 3 based here in Nashville for this Nolensville Pike work. And so our state partners will be critical stakeholders with us on this project. The existing infrastructure is also in various stages of adequacy for a growing city of this size. And there's active private sector development occurring along the corridor, challenging some of this planning and project development work. We also have grant projects that have been awarded on the corridor, and we really cannot wait to perform some of these nearer term safety improvements as the city continues to grow along Nolensville Pike. So some of these grant projects that are awarded, some of these near-term safety improvements have to be coordinated during your planning and project development work to show how we're continually improving the street. We do not have bus rapid transit design standards. And some of our street and utility design standards are in various stages of consistency. So you need to keep that in mind as you're working on Nolensville Pike. There also may be a need to do zoning updates with our implementation partners. And this would involve the Planning Commission and Planning Department staff. And all zoning changes are legislative here in Nashville, which requires Metro Council adoption. And so you'll see in our scope that we have held those tasks for future focused work with our planning department. Finally, Nashville is growing, but our resources, our institutional muscle, and staffing really have not kept up with this growth. And if you've done work with legacy transit programs, keep in mind we are a burgeoning city, but that gives us opportunities to shape and have significant impact for decades to come on many of the processes that will continue beyond even the Nolensville Pike work. And so you can potentially do some really innovative work that might be more difficult in a city that has well-established protocols for corridor planning and project development. So again, this is why having national experience with a local context is really crucial to successful work here with us on this project. Now I'm going to walk through some maps and show you the conceptual key destinations and termini. Next slide, please. So on these slides, we've summarized the type of operational improvements, signal and stop improvements that were identified in Choose How You Move. We also have areas noted with constraints or potential favorable factors. This current segment that's on the screen is a really critical segment, part of our entire transit network. It is critical because it connects WeGo Central or the Elizabeth Duff Transit Center to a planned transit center in the Sobro area. And you can see those with stars on this map. This really keeps our entire transit network reliable and frequent. And so thinking through how these two transit centers and a future East Bank Transit Center connect within downtown really will keep our service and operations reliable and frequent. Next slide. Here's what the corridor looks like immediately just away from WeGo Central. So this is near the state capitol along James Robertson Parkway. There's even on-street parking in the area. And you have a number of probably environmental resources as well in this area. Next slide. This is beginning to head south on Rosa L. Parks Boulevard. You begin to see how much denser development has really taken off in the city, and areas where we had parking lots over the last several decades have really transformed to mixed use, multi-level development for a downtown. Next slide. And then continuing to head out, you see additional development occurring. This is on Lafayette Street as you begin to head towards what we call the exterior of the downtown loop and continue along Nolensville Pike. This area here is 5-6 lanes and has sidewalks all the way up through what we call the downtown loop. Next slide. So the conceptual corridor transitions as you hit the downtown loop that encompasses the interstate. And we begin looking at a one-way couplet where on-street conditions going northbound traffic utilizes 2nd Avenue, going southbound utilize 4th Avenue. So what's shown on the screen is currently 2nd Avenue connecting to Lafayette Street. The planned Sobro Transit Center would be at the north end of this slide. One thing to note in this area is a railroad crossing. There's actually a bridge on this portion of 2nd Avenue on the southern end of the segment identified. Next slide. It's one-way pair, so is 4th Avenue. This again is connecting on the north end at the planned Sobro Transit Center and is highlighted where it rejoins back into a two-way street right close to our soccer stadium, Geodis Park. The railroad crossing in this area on 4th Avenue is actually at grade. Next slide. This is just showing the context on 2nd Avenue. It is a mix of single-family homes, multifamily homes, such as townhomes, and even cottage courts that have been developed as well, with 2 travel lanes and on-street parking. Next slide. Going southbound on 4th Avenue, you see some of the newer development, and this is an example of a event venue that has developed in recent years that's connected to the Wedgwood Houston neighborhood in this area. Next slide. So you continue south past Geodis Park and you cross Interstate 440 and where you go into the Woodbine neighborhood. Next slide. Within the Woodbine neighborhood, there's actually buildings that are pretty close to the street. There's a planned park and ride that's identified near Thompson Lane, and that's the intersection that you see on your screen. That park and ride location is still to be determined. Next slide. You then head through the Glencliff neighborhood. You have a similar urban fabric with buildings that are a bit closer to the street, but we then connect to the Nashville Zoo. There's also a railroad bridge crossing in this area, and much of the street actually has a wider shoulder. The study area ends at Harding Place, where there is a Walmart today, and we have a planned transit center and park and ride in this area. And again, that future location is to be determined. Next slide. And this is just showing the Nolensville corridor close to the Nashville Zoo at its entrance. And so you can see how that extra shoulder width has been utilized today as part of the highway. Next slide. So that gives an overview of the corridor. Sabrina's had to log off, but we're now going to move into just a final slide and question and answer. So if you have any questions that you want to put into the chat, please go ahead and do that now, and our team will continue to compile those while I go through the final thoughts. So just to reiterate, we're looking for teams that combine some local knowledge with national expertise. So again, this is a planning project development process that we have not undertaken within Nashville, and it's new for our state partners as well. Our growth really helps us combine the best of both worlds. We really need firms that understand the local community, can talk to our residents about issues, bring some of the ideas forward to them that many of our residents haven't seen before. but also with proven expertise on large-scale projects nationwide. So helping guide us through this work will be really key. Diversity matters. So building strong partnerships to support the disadvantaged business enterprise, minority business enterprise, and woman-owned business firms is also important. So that will be reflected in the evaluation. And we just want to reiterate that we're here to continue building and working with you all, and really look forward to the proposals that will come in, and also look forward to the questions that you all have about the proposal as we continue to work and build really great infrastructure for our residents here in Nashville. So with that, that concludes the formal presentation. We're now going to go into question and answers. So if you've got questions, please continue to put them in the chat. We may not be able to get to all of them, but we'll make a note of these, and we'll also follow up with all questions with a response that will be published. So in looking at some of the questions, we've received several. One is about how all of the other all-access corridors are coming together in the city. So someone asked, are the other all-access corridors moving forward beyond Nolensville? So the answer to that is yes. They're just in various stages. So we are continuing to reflect upon what was approved by voters as part of the Transportation Improvement Program, or the TIP, and it identified 10 corridor segments that were all-access corridors. 4 of those corridors, based on that TIP, really require pretty substantial infrastructure upgrades. We're continuing to reevaluate how federal funding fits into those 4 corridors. That includes the Nolensville Pike corridor. The remaining corridors, including those downtown, are likely to include less heavy infrastructure upgrades. There are conditions such as infrastructure being in a little bit better shape, sidewalks having been constructed, some stormwater issues that are in better conditions on those corridors, where we envision the sort of street upgrades and street overhaul of the infrastructure being a bit lighter touch. So those corridors will continue to move forward, looking at things like transit signal priority, queue jumps, some dedicated bus lanes as well, but they will be going through a different process. We have a question on whether or not we will release the attendee list and the presentation from the session. And so I've gotten a yes in the slide, and so we will do that as follow-up. Also a question about, will all vendors be able to respond to the Nolensville All Access Corridor RFP, or only those on the IDIQ? So that's a great question. So those are 2 separate procurements. And so the Nolensville All Access Corridor RFP is open to all firms. It is not limited to those that move through the NDOT-led IDIQ process. We've got a question for Kara on here. I want to make sure she's available. So Kara, will right-of-way acquisition services be needed for this project for Nolensville?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that. So part of this will be doing NEPA analysis, and so part of that would be identifying any privately owned land necessary to accommodate right of way. So we are anticipating that.
All right, thank you. There's also a question on the Sobro Transit Center design. So this involves A&E, so architecture and engineering services and construction. documentation. Wanted to know if that would be included in the scope of services for the Nolensville Pike project. So that's the that's the Sobro Transit Center. They're wanting to know if that would be included in the RFP. Or if that is included in a subsequent RFP or RFQ, and if so, will WeGo procure those services? So what we know right now is that is not included as part of the work on Nolensville, but keeping in mind any parallel process that is happening with the Sobro Transit Center will need to be integrated into any work that you're planning for Nolensville. The follow-up question on the WeGo, whether or not WeGo will procure those services, that is to be determined. So we have not decided that yet, and we'll keep you posted when that decision's made. I'm continuing to look through questions. There's one about who or what will they lead versus a sub-consultant lead for the corridors. I think what that is asking is based on the project teams, and if this is not what we have inferred or what I'm inferring correctly, but based on the project teams that come together, it sounds like there's a question about a desire for who will lead versus being a sub-consultant and lead for either other corridors, I guess, or within that project team. So what we would envision is that there's probably a lead consultant that has pretty extensive expertise doing very similar work in other cities. And so your sub-consultants are likely to be brought on to help flesh out specific needs. So if it's related to outreach or community engagement, modeling, could be looking at some market conditions to help understand the corridor. Envision that you would have a prime that has pretty extensive experience doing this work with sub-consultants that begin to flesh out additional kind of more niche work as part of the Nolensville scope. I was hoping there would be other questions for other people, but they seem to be mostly on Nolensville, specifically with Choose How You Move. So sorry, I already covered that one. So a good question about a project manager requiring or being required to have CIG experience. I certainly think that is a tremendous advantage in this case, just because you will have experience going through the federal process, and being able to replicate that will be key in order for it to be successful. Kara, do you want to expand on that question?
Yeah, if I understand the question
Yeah.
correctly, so the consultant project manager, we won't necessarily make that a requirement that they have CIG experience. That would definitely be a benefit. And I will clarify that the main purpose of this RFP would be more on the design side of things. So shepherding it through the NEPA process, the alternatives analysis process, 30% design. The program management team will have a role in more of the CIG strategy. So these two consultant teams will be working closely together. CIG benefit, or excuse me, having CIG experience would definitely be a plus.
Thanks, Kara. So there's a good question. I would actually want to toss this both to Dennis and Kim, because you may have different ways of approaching this. So there's a question about, we have a small PM or CM, so I assume that's project manager or construction manager, DBE, looking to partner with other companies. How can they access a list of Metro and WeGo current partners? So Dennis, do you have thoughts on that?
So, good question. We've actually got a business assistance office within procurement that can support you on that. So we've got a comprehensive list of suppliers that we maintain, and so we can actually help make those connections. So if you want to send me an email related to this at dennis.rowland at nashville.gov, I'll be more than happy to pass that on to the appropriate people.
Same here. If you would like that list from WeGo, you can email me, kim.herford@nashville.gov, and we can provide you with a list and contact information of people that we are contracted with. But I would say this: whenever there's a new solicitation out on the street, you should also attend those pre-bid meetings. And in that pre-bid meeting, after that meeting, we list all of the firms that participated in that pre-bid meeting, provide contact information, because we might end up, we don't want you to miss any new potential suppliers that we're not currently doing business with. So we want to make sure you have current information, new interested suppliers that might be on the call. And so we will issue an addendum. It will have contact information for everybody that participated in the pre-bid meeting, so you can call and kind of do some type of networking to see if you can offer your assistance to be a sub to any prime contractors.
All right, thank you, Kim.
Mhm.
And Dennis, thank you too. This question's for Kara, and I want to see if you have any thoughts on this. What public relations and marketing or engagement opportunities will be needed for the all access corridors, since HNTB is the current program manager?
Good question. We are viewing public involvement, engagement as sort of a cornerstone effort to the technical work that will be conducted here. And so while yes, a program manager is in place, this at minimum is a force multiplier. But again, this is really essential to have a outreach team that really knows the community, like Michael mentioned, in making sure that there is consistent alignment between NEPA and the design phases. So they will be working with HNTB's communications team just for continuity, but we truly, truly need a robust team and a robust effort on public involvement to shepherd the project through alternatives analysis, through public meetings, through the NEPA process, through the design process.
All right, thank you, Kara. There's several questions. They're kind of worded a bit differently, but they're all about, when will the RFQ for Nolensville all access corridor be released? So that's going to be soon. We do anticipate it will be this month, so within February, and that will be going through WeGo Procurement, so it will be on their website. There's a question. I just want to acknowledge one question that we may not have an answer on. It's about the Choose How You Move projects, those that were mentioned today. Will there be any architectural scope that we'll be seeing focused on like horizontal work? So I think this is related to maybe the transit centers of private sector kind of joint development partnerships. I don't think we've got, and Kara, unless you've got kind of some thoughts there, I don't think we've got anything kind of guidance currently on that, but I wanted to acknowledge we got that question in. and we'll
Yeah.
continue to work on that one.
I'll offer too, if this question's asking just about complementary development, maybe to accompany the Transit Act investment, we do anticipate work maybe coming down the pike that would focus on economic development strategies. So that might be a forthcoming opportunity as well.
Yeah, there's also a similar question along the design of transit centers,
Yeah.
other vertical infrastructure. So yes, there is opportunities like that coming up. We just don't have all of the details on it as to when and how that's being done. One question for NDOT. So this may be Christy or Derek. Please explain the IDIQ round robin process again. So is it based on the firm alphabets? Oh, wait, I'm actually being told do not go into that. So let's not, sorry, because that was something that was done at the beginning. So we can't get into the IDIQ process, but that question on that can be answered or addressed separately with NDOT. Sorry about that. I will just note we have probably some other things that have come in that we haven't gotten to completely, and we're running about out of time. So those are things that we'll continue to compile and pull together. I'm kind of looking at the team to flag any last one that may have come in that we can address today in the webinar. I'm going to kind of wait about 20 seconds. Okay, I'm not seeing anything else get flagged, but there were some that we didn't get to today that we'll continue to follow up on. And so there'll be more information coming out with FAQs that will have some answers there. Then these questions that have come in, we will also post responses so that everybody has the same information. I want to be sure and thank everyone today for joining us. Also, thank you to the entire Metro team. So from Metro Finance, Procurement, NDOT, WeGo, Choose How You Move program team, the program management team that's working along with us. Just really appreciate everybody putting a lot of work and effort into this, because this has been something we're really excited about here in Nashville. And we are really looking forward to getting this work kicked off and moving. And we expect to see really great things coming out of Choose How You Move and out of Nashville in the years ahead. So continue to stay engaged with us. If you've got questions, you can follow up to our email there on the screen. So that's transit@nashville.gov. I hope you all have a great afternoon.